Hello, and welcome back to another gardening video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a simple guide to growing microgreens. So yeah, let's get right into it. Right, so what you need first is some soil. Here, I've just got some multi-purpose compost that I sieved last night so as to get all of the big sticks and stones out of it. So it's a nice fine, crumbly soil. So make sure your soil is fine when you're planting microgreens because the seeds are so small, you don't want any of the roots to have to get around big objects. So just make sure it's as fine as you can possibly get. Right, and then you need some seed trays. So they're just about a few inches tall and they're fairly sturdy, and I got a pack of 6 for about £6 on Amazon. So yeah, you can get them quite cheaply, and then you can get so many microgreens just in this. And then I'm using like a metal spoon here to get my soil out. You can use a trowel or a spoon or anything, or you could even just use your hands. And then I've got a little jug of water here to water it when I'm done. I've got a pair of scissors, and most importantly I've got my packs of seeds. And in this video I'm going to be growing Swiss chard, red, kale, Nero de Tiscona, pak choi, purple rain, which is a hybrid, mustard, red lace, and radish leaf sangria. And then I'm also going to be growing a mixed lettuce variety, so that should be quite interesting. Right, so let's get into it. So first of all, get one of your trays, pouring a little bit of water in before you start. And this just means that when you put the soil in, there's a little bit of water at the bottom for it to absorb up to the top where the seeds are. And then that means you don't have to water it as much when you're spraying. Just get some big spoonfuls or handfuls of soil and just put it in. And you want to fill the seed tray up to about, I would say, maybe 1 centimetre below the top, so that when the seeds go in, there's a tiny bit of space to either put more soil on top, or so that when you come to harvest it, the soil isn't pressing right at the top. And make sure to even out the soil so that it's not just a big clump in the middle. So get it to all the edges. There we go. So we've put a fairly even layer of soil in there. So now we can start putting the seeds. So in this tray I'm going to put my radish leaf sangria. So just get your seed pack and just pour out all the seeds, and there's not that many in this pack, about this much if you can see. So I'm just going to gently just sprinkle it as evenly as I can over this whole tray. And yeah, it doesn't matter if they're close together because that's what you want. So I'm just going to do it as quite thick. And I don't have that many of these radish seeds, so I'm just going to do 1/2 of this seed tray with radish, and then the other half with maybe mustard. And when you're laying them, don't forget to do the corners, because quite often you can forget that. Okay, so now that we've done all of the radish, we can now move on to doing the mustard on the other half. So get our pack of mustard seeds, open them up. Now these mustard seeds are quite small, as you can see, so just be careful when you're moving them across. So we'll just do the same thing we did with the radishes and just sprinkle them all on. Just make sure they're roughly evenly spread out, because with microgreens you want them to be super densely packed, because you're going to harvest them within 10 to 14 days, but some early ones even like a week. And so it doesn't matter if they're all bunched together, because you won't let them get big enough that they need to be spread out. Okay, there we go. So we've done that whole tray now. And with microgreens, unlike other plants, you just get a really, really thin layer of soil and just kind of put it over the top of them. So just so that it's covering them, but no more than that, because you don't want them to have to grow through too much soil when they germinate. There we go, so it's completely done now. And now that it's finished, instead of getting like a jug of water like this and just pouring it on, we're going to get a sprayer, fill it with water, and then just gently spray the top so that it's thoroughly wet. So we've got our sprayer here, and we're just going to put it on a fine kind of mist like this and just spray it. And we want to do it so that the entire surface is wet and then it goes down a little bit into the seeds, because then that will trigger them to germinate, and then we'll get our crop sooner. And you may be asking, are microgreen seeds like different to other seeds? And really the answer is no, they're not at all different. They're just regular seeds, for example regular radish seeds, but instead of letting them grow to maturity, which is when you'd get the actual radish, we're just going to harvest them when they've just sprouted. So there's no need to get special microgreen seeds. You just get regular varieties of things and plant them. So you can literally plant any vegetable and grow it as a microgreen. And that's really helpful because it means you don't have to specialise in things. And with microgreens, you don't have to grow them outside. It's almost better to grow them inside. So you can literally grow them anywhere, even if you live in a house without a garden, which is really helpful. And yeah, so anyone can grow them, so I'd recommend that you try it. And microgreens, they're highly nutritious. They're like equal in nutrition to the plants when they're fully grown. So they're a really good thing to like add to salads or sandwiches. So I'd highly recommend that you give it a go yourself after watching this video. There we go, so soil is thoroughly wet. Might give it a little bit more later, but I think that's good for now. So we'll put this tray off to the side because it's finished, and then we'll move on to the next tray. Okay, so we've finished planting all of the seed trays. Got all three of them here, though you'll probably only be able to see two. And unfortunately, I've just realised that I've forgotten what plants are where. So that's unlucky, but just remember to mark which plants you planted where when you actually plant them, and don't wait till the end when you've got loads of trays, loads of earth, and you don't remember. So, I mean, it could be quite an exciting twist in my case, that I just have to wait till they've sprouted, or even when I eat them, to discover what they actually are. So that's quite cool in a way. And that's about it. I'd say the seeds will probably germinate in between 3 to 7 days, depending on what variety you're growing. So for example, the radishes might germinate in like 3 or 4 days, whereas something like beans or peas might take longer. And I'm not planting them, but I'm just giving you an example. And I'd say spray your trays at least every day or every other day, or at least just when the surface or a couple of centimetres down are dry. But make sure you don't overwater your trays, because if you're using trays like mine that don't have holes in the bottom, it means that if you watered it loads and loads, it could start to rot and the water would just fill up and it would get waterlogged. So just make sure that doesn't happen, but make sure that the seeds don't dry out, otherwise they won't germinate. And I've got a nice time lapse for you next that shows the seeds germinating, and then I'll come back when their little babies have grown. So I'll see you then. Bye. It's been about exactly 2 weeks really, And as you can see, everything has absolutely thrived. The radish has done especially well, growing extra fast, and that's what it's known for, whereas the Swiss chard took a little bit longer to sprout than all the rest of the things, and now that's starting to really get up there. But yeah, we can definitely harvest the radish now, and I think we can also harvest the mustard and the kale, and the pak choy, and maybe even the kale, and then I think I might just leave the lettuce a little bit longer before I harvest them. And to know when to harvest, you want to be able to, you want them to be fairly tall, depending on what kind of plant it is. So these radish, you can see they're nice and tall, their leaves are quite big, and that's good. And then the pak choy and the mustard and the kale, even though their leaves are smaller, they're still kind of like the maximum height they'll get at this small stage. And if you really don't know when to harvest, then sometimes you can just look for in between the leaves, and these leaves that are coming through, these leaves that are just coming on the top, these are just the seedling leaves that all plants kind of start with, and they look the same on like every plant, and they're pretty much just the same. But the next set of leaves are the plant's true leaves, and those are what that plant will be like specified with, and that's what you'll most commonly think of them as. For example, kale, some varieties have big like spiky leaves, whereas these little seedling leaves, they're just round and kind of flat. And yeah, so you might be thinking, oh look, you've got little tags in, and yeah, as before I said I forgot which was what, but then when they sprouted I managed to discover what was what, fairly obviously, because the radish was kind of purpley, so that's radish, and then the Swiss chard has these lovely red stems, and then the lettuce was quite easy to guess, and then the others I just kind of watched back and saw what I'd done. And so yeah, let's get about harvesting. So, first of all, we're going to harvest this radish leaf, and this is radish sangria, and it's grown really well, as you can see, nice and tall, and in only 2 weeks as well, so that's what makes microgreens like these really good. So when you're harvesting, you just want to put your scissors on the rim of the tray, and then just kind of cut along, and just hold the area that you're going to be cutting, and then you literally just go in and just snip. And there you go, nice little collection. And then just get a little bowl and put those in, and then go through and do that again. And with these radish, you kind of want to harvest them when they're about this size, because if you leave them to get any larger, then they'll probably start producing baby radishes. And that could be quite nice if you want, so you could leave them, experiment like that. But this is kind of, if you want them for the greens, then this is the kind of height you want to get. So just try and get as low to the ground as you can without actually pulling up any earth with them. See, like these. And this was just one pack of seeds I got all of this out of. So imagine if you did this on a larger scale, you could get so much out of it. And of course, when you're doing a job like this, you want to actually taste it. So we'll just try a few stems of this radish leaf and see what it tastes like. Yeah, it's a really nice peppery flavour, and normally I don't actually like radishes, but that's actually quite nice. You just add a little bit of peppery spice, so you could add that into like a sandwich or into a burger or anything you want, really. Yeah, that was really nice. So I'd recommend growing radish if you do decide to grow microgreens, because they're one of the fastest growing microgreens, and they have a really nice flavour. And there we go, from just one pack of seeds, we've harvested all of the radish, and those are just some of the leftover stems from the ones we cut. And here you can see the whole bowl full we got just from that one pack of seeds. So that'll make a really nice addition to the salads. And so now let's just harvest some of the other ones, and I think I'm going to harvest the mustard. You can just about see how tall it is there. If this is my finger, and that's the mustard, and then we'll leave the lettuces here because they're not that big yet, and the Swiss chard have really only just sprouted, so we'll leave them a bit longer. But yeah, so we'll do the mustard. We'll definitely do the pak choi, because they've gotten really quite big now. And I think we'll just leave the kale a couple more days. But if you think about it, in just 2 weeks, all of this has grown from absolutely nothing, just bare soil and a few seeds, to this bushy green mass of it. And the Swiss chard, for example, it has these like really nice red stems, and the radish leaf has these nice purple stems. And yeah, just 3 trays, and just one of them has made this little bowl full. So imagine how much all of these will create. So we'll just harvest the rest of those. So I'll just show you a close-up now of me harvesting the pak choi. So remember, just get your scissors like on the edge like this, and then just move across. Take a little bit with your hands, and then just snip, and then you get all of this lovely goodness. And then just put that in a little bowl, and then we go through and snip again. And there we go, we've now harvested the pak choi. See, just nice little pile there. And you might be wondering, what do I do with the soil once I've harvested all of the plants out of them? And that's a good question. So I'd recommend either just taking the whole slab out of this, you just like pop it out, or just like dig it out and then just put the whole thing on your compost heap. Or you could even just dig it into the ground and then let it act as like food for the new plants. Or if you've sown fairly thinly, like these pak choi here, or you see these radish, there's quite a lot of gaps in between them. Once you've fully harvested, you could probably plant some more seeds in there and get another harvest out of that. So those are your options, really. But really, you can choose yourself how long you want to wait, because it's up to you how big you want them to get. For example, like with the Swiss chard and the lettuce and the kale, you could wait like a month and then they'd get quite big, even though they're so packed together, and then that would be quite nice to eat. But it's if you want fast greens at like an easy way, you just plant the seeds and then you get the greens out of it. Or if you want the like big plants, then you usually do that outside. But this is just a fast and sustainable way of getting loads of greens in a really short amount of time. And there we go, we've completely harvested the radish and the mustard in that tray, and the pak choi in that tray. And here are 3 little bowls with the 3 salads in, the radish being here, the pak choi being here, and the mustard being there. And you can see just those 3 plants will make at least a full big bowl of salad. And so with this, as I said before, you just basically just pop the whole thing out if you're going to put it in your compost heap. Or if you're not going to do that, then kind of just try and pull out the remaining stems of these. And then once you've pulled out all the stems, you can then plant more new seeds in it. And if you haven't sown it super thickly, like I have done with like the chard there or the kale there, or basically all of them, because they weren't big seed packets, then there should still be enough nutrients left in the soil to get another harvest out of that. So yeah, so I hope you found this video helpful, and that you try growing your own microgreens, because it's so easy and anyone can do it. All you need to do is buy some trays, get some seed packets, plant them, water them, leave them for 2 weeks, and then eat them. It's simple as that. And just a quick tip, if your plants are growing towards the light, for example, here you can see the lettuce and the chard they're all kind of growing at an angle like this, then just literally, and say the light source is here, then just turn the whole tray around like this, and then they'll straighten and grow back towards the light. And just do that like once a day, and then they'll stay straight. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful, and subscribe if you're new around here. And remember to like the video. So yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.